My name is John. I play in Blackstone Cherry, and I'm the bass guitar player.
Awesome. Well, we are here at Carnival of Madness in Baltimore, Maryland. How are you enjoying the tour so far?
The tour's great. We toured a lot with Theory guys before this album cycle, and we started off with Ultra Bridge beginning of this album cycle back in April, May, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's just been like hanging out with a bunch of dudes, you know, we've become best friends with. So it's like it's almost like a family reunion.
That's awesome.
Almost all the time. We cook out and we hang out on each other's buses, and Brian Marshall was like camping out in our front lounge all the time.
Well, it's funny, like I sense the camaraderie among everybody, like just talking to all the different bands. Like it sounds like everybody's built up such a great relationship with each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's what we do. We hang out all the time. Everybody. It's not just like each band to themselves. Like we all hang out, and it's nice being on a tour like that because, I mean, I love everybody in my band. My drummer, who's putting his contacts in right now, our wonderful Afro John Fred. No, I mean, it's great, you know, because sometimes it gets to the point where you're just like, okay, I've seen the same people every day for my entire life, need some other, you know, interaction, you know, so when you got guys from other bands that are cool that you get along with and all that, it's nice to be able to break up the monotony.
Oh, of course. So what are the plans for after Carnival of Madness? What's going to take you through like fall into winter?
We've got a month off, which is much needed. We're going to take that month off, and then we go to Europe with Ultra Bridge. We do all the Continental Europe dates, and then we've got a bunch of really big UK shows to do.
Awesome. So how would you say the fan base is in the UK versus the States? Are you looking forward to...
UK for us, we could do like a 4,000 or 5,000 seater headlining by ourselves.
Wow.
And sell it out pretty quickly. Wow. Here, 1,000 seats.
Why do you think that is?
People ask that question all the time. The easiest way I can explain it is this. In America, you have competing rock stations in pretty much every major city. Mm-hmm. Over there, they have like one major rock station per country.
Right.
You know, so they're not being force-fed, you know, information from the radio all the time. They've got like the same stuff over and over and over again, which is kind of the same way here because radio is really fickle here. They play the same things over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. But over there, it's one station. That's all they got. You know, here, it's just so much more obtainable. Over there, they see a poster and they go on the internet and they find the band and they learn about them and they go to the shows and they buy the merch and they get into the band and they become, it's like more of a lifestyle thing over there. Here, it's like something to do on the weekend. There, it's something they live.
Yeah, I mean, I heard it's just a totally different appreciation over there. So, you know, being that you're going to be very busy, like, overseas and everything, and the album just came out, was it May?
I believe it was May, yes.
May
31st, I'm pretty sure.
And that, like, definitely been performing quite well for you guys.
Yeah, it's been doing really good. White Trash Millionaire, first single, got up to number 11, I believe. It was in the top 15 for, like, 16 weeks. So, I mean, it definitely did its job. Blame the Boom Boom is climbing. Get new ads every day and spin increases and all that, so it's doing great. Album sales, if you want to get into that, it's almost sold as many records as our second record did already.
Wow.
So it's doing very, very well.
That's awesome too, especially when it's such a challenge now,
really
you know, within the industry, all the changes, and now people are saying it's more about the live show than it is about the album sales.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, you would release an album and you would go tour to support that record. Now you would release a record to support your tour. Mm-hmm. You know, it's very different because people don't buy records anymore. I mean, I can't really blame them. I mean, you can flip open a laptop and go to whatever website and download it for free. I mean, it's 10, 15 bucks they just saved. I get it, especially with the economy being as bad as it is, you know. I understand it. Yeah. It sucks for us, but I get it, you know.
That's the same thing too of people not listening to whole albums anymore. It becomes like a singles market, so everybody will go and buy one or two singles from an album and not getting the whole package
Which is where iTunes
anymore.
comes into play, and people have the opportunity to purchase songs individually rather than buying the whole record. You know, I mean, it hits the bands pretty bad, but you know, what are you gonna do? I mean, unless somebody comes up with some magical way of coding a CD that it can't be put onto a computer at all. Which at that point, then you're doing away with iPods and iPhones and all the other forms of music media that we have, and that's just going to piss a lot of people off.
Yeah, of course.
Their only option is to take the CD, put it in the CD player. They can't put it on an iPod and hook up to their iPod dock and listen to that record along with the millions of other records they may have.
Of course.
So it becomes, it's like the whole idea of like people have smartphones and iPods and stuff now, so all their music can fit on something this big, rather than having a library of shit just hanging on their walls.
Oh yeah, it's true. I mean, it's like actual CD cases and liner notes and things like that. Like, I never thought I'd see CDs sold on little credit card things.
Yeah.
Like, and if somebody had told me that, I would have been like, no, you're kidding.
Yep.
So, who would you list as some of your major influences? Do you have an album that, maybe has
personal influences?
Yeah, like a lasting
not
impression.
really albums. What really got me into like hard rock was Alice in Chains' Best of the Box, which is their collection of their box set. When I was a kid, like the first thing that turned me onto music in general was Elton John playing Crocodile Rock and Puppets.
Right.
And when I told my dad, who was sitting in the room with me at the time I was watching it, I told my dad, it's like, I want to do that. I want to play music. He turned me on to Ted Nugent and AC/DC. And as I grew up, I fell in love with, Led Zeppelin and The Who and all that stuff on my own, And then when this band got together, we rehearsed in the practice house in Kentucky, and John Fred's dad is the rhythm guitar player for the Kentucky Headhunters, and his uncle's the drummer for the band. But their practice house, they've had it since the late 60s, early 70s, and that's where they've always rehearsed. There's no insulation walls, so they covered all the cracks in the walls with like old albums and posters and just rock and roll and blues memorabilia from decades ago. So when we were 16, 17, 18 years old, we're sitting in that house looking into the eyes of Howlin' Wolf, Cream, Cactus, Montehoopel, all these different bands that some of them, some people have heard of them today, some kids, some younger people have, but most of them not. I mean, I'd be pretty ready to bet $100 that if you walk down the street right now and asked a random teenager if they'd ever heard of Cactus before, they probably wouldn't know. Never heard of that.
Probably not.
But we were looking in the eyes of all these great artists from back in the day that were amazing musicians that had to, stand up to Led Zeppelin and all these other, iconic figures that everybody knows today. They had to be able to perform to some caliber of that, so we had all that kind of sit in front of us, and we had to live up to that. We had so much of a standard for ourselves.
So I mean, I'm sure creatively,
that
absolutely.
Was because where we're from, there wasn't much of a music scene. I mean, I can't say there wasn't a music scene, because we've got friends back home that were playing back then and all that, and they're great and all, but each one of them are substantially different from the next, and so different from everything that's on the radio and all that stuff, because we didn't really have much to look at as far as modern music was concerned. We only got one rock station, and it plays. Majority of the stuff that it plays is like Led Zeppelin and all the classics, and occasionally the new stuff. But for them to play the new stuff, it's got to be like top 5. Like really up the chart. So we were sitting back with all these blues artists and jazz artists and R&B and you name it from back almost 100 years ago. That's what we grew up with. That's what we listened to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, too, because we see a lot of rock radio stations dying, too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they just can't hold on. With
and that's satellite radio coming into play. I mean, yes, the economy is low, but just a lot of people have looked at it like this. Either I can go buy a bunch of music off iTunes, or I can go buy CDs or all that, or I can just pay $15 a month or whatever it is for Sirius Radio, and I can program what I want to listen to, tell it never play that again, and stick to this station or whatever, and it's all right there. So they always have a playlist going to something that they like.
Oh, of course, I'm guilty. Trust me, I'm guilty.
When they realize they can do it at $15 a month, they have every album that's out in the world.
Right.
They opt for that a lot of times, regardless of the financial situation.
So, what is your favorite aspect of playing a live show? What do you enjoy the most?
The energy from the crowd, for sure. Be it a 500-seat club or playing a stadium, on some major tour or a festival with like 60-something thousand people.
Is there one you prefer over the other?
Not really. Download it's like our festival. We love that festival, which is in England. It's in Donington Castle, and we've played main stage every time we've played it. This last year we were the out of the last 5 bands, we were the first of the last 5.
Oh, wow.
And it's 65 to 70,000 people.
Yeah.
Just insane. In fact, we're using footage from that for the music video for Blame on the Boom Boom that's going to be released here. But that's nuts. But then you can also go into like a 500-seat room where they've cramped 700 people in there and the walls are sweating, but the crowd's nuts, you know? I mean, it's all about just that exchange of energy from the band to the crowd. I mean, regardless of how it goes, it's something, it's very different from the grand scale to the smaller scale, but in the small scale, you can remember a lot of the faces that you're seeing. You know, you can meet them after the show and hang out, and you're not crowded by 40,000 people trying to get to you at once, you know? In the other situation, you've got 60-something thousand people in front of you that are going crazy for your band, and it's like a big ego boost, big time, you know. But you can't exactly walk out in the middle of the crowd and meet everybody, shake their hands, and you know, you just can't do it.
Oh, I'm sure they're two completely different animals.
Yes, absolutely.
So, you know, how's social media been a tool? I mean, now it obviously makes bands a lot more accessible to fans.
Yeah, like originally MySpace, and then Facebook, Twitter, and all that stuff, which I don't even know if MySpace is still functional now. But
it's hanging
actually
on.
it is. I heard Justin Timberlake has purchased a piece of it.
Or something,
I think it was a list of musicians and artists that bought it. They're going to turn it into like a music media kind of thing, which is cool because that's what it was originally.
You know, it's funny because with MySpace, I still think it's one of the easiest ways to share actual tracks of music. You know, with Facebook, there's not really
the audio player right there, the page and all that stuff. Yeah.
And like now with Facebook, like, you know, I think you could put something in there, but I'm not real sure.
Where MySpace started getting a little convoluted was when you would go to a band's page and they would have a media player, or if you went to a personal page or whatever, they had their favorite song or whatever playing on their page, and yet there were still comments and posts and all that stuff with videos dropped into it.
Yeah.
And they weren't set up to where you go down and you click on it, like on Facebook, you go down, you see the link, you click on it, it takes you to YouTube, and you watch whatever. Well, on MySpace, when it opened up, everything that was on there was some kind of media player, it all started playing at the same time. So you're sitting there trying to listen to the song that kicks in first,
like, where's that
first thing on the page, and then all of a sudden you start hearing some kid on a bicycle going down the hill, or something random like that, and you're like, what is that? And you're scrolling down the page trying to find it, and it's like 400 messages there. It just became a little bit of a nightmare for people to deal with, so Facebook was a lot simpler for people to deal with.
So you guys pretty active on that?
I would like to say we all are, but Ben set up our rhythm guitar player set up our Facebook through his, so he does the majority of everything to the Facebook that way. Like if we need an image or whatever for the default picture or whatever, like the Between the Devil and Deep Blue Sea album cover in stores now, stuff like that, he comes to me and I build it in Photoshop and I can give it to him. You know, nice. I do that stuff. But as far as like talking to the fans and all that stuff, Ben's the guy that's always on it because it's directly linked through his.
That's good. I mean, it's important for the fans to have that kind of interaction, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And you said you are working on the video for the next single?
Yeah, Blame on the Boom Boom. We just looked at a comp of it the other day. We get some behind-the-scenes stuff from us, swimming, days off, and running around backstage.
That's fun, though.
Crazy, whatever, you know, stuff like that. Along with all the live footage from Download of us performing that song in front of 60-something thousand people. So.
Well, certainly look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, it looks great so far.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out to speak with me. I appreciate it. Is there any message or comment you'd like to share with the visitors of PopCultureMadness.com?
Blame on the Boom Boom is the current single. Please call your radio station and pester the hell out of them and ask them to play it. If you want to see us come to your area, you need to hit us up on Facebook. You need to call your radio station. More importantly, you need to call your radio station and tell them so, because the way we come to you is by your radio station calling our booking agent and having something put together. So you got to call and let radio know. You got to be active with that. If you want to see us, you got to let them know. So please call. We'd love to come see you.
Awesome. Thank you.